on to episode 2 of A Day in the Life, and I'm delighted to spend a day with the Dickson family, primarily Ashley Dickson. A lot of people would know the Dickson brand from our Facebook Live videos and their insurance business, but there's a lot more strings to the Dickson's bow, and we're hoping to get a bit of an insight into their life today. So we're just outside the door. It's teeming rain. We couldn't have got a worse day. It's all about rain, this weather, but anyway, it is the time of year. So if you enjoy this, or if you have any queries, drop it in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe. So we're going to check out, hopefully, Ashley.
Killian.
Good morning.
Welcome to Drumquin.
Thanks very much.
Not a very pleasant day.
Not a very pleasant day, but listen, we might join you for a cup of tea.
Come on ahead.
Ashley, again, thanks very much for inviting us to your lovely home this morning. I suppose let's look. Who is Ashley Dickson?
Who's Ashley? Ashley's a 62-year-old man, married to Ruth, married for 34 years, with 4 children, 4 boys. You'll certainly be familiar with them through motorsport, so Stephen, Ian, Jason and Jordan. I'm an insurance broker by profession. Started off life as a farmer. Was born in Omagh. My father was an engineer, so born in Omagh but brought up in Belfast first, then Bangor. When I was 17, I came back down to the family farm in Omagh. So a farmer. Whenever Ruth and I were getting married, the farm wasn't going to be big enough at that time to support another household, so it ended up falling, I suppose, luckily into insurance. My brother-in-law, who's married to Ruth's older sister, worked for an insurance company. He was getting some promotion. We actually met up on New Year's Eve 1989, and as you do New Year's Eve, you talk about the next year, what's going to happen, and I said, I don't know, I'm going to have to get a job somewhere. He mentioned insurance. I thought, sure, I know nothing about insurance, but that discussion sort of grew legs, and I joined an insurance company as a local representative, and worked for that company for just under 2.5 years, and I thought I saw an opening for another insurance broker in Omagh at that time. We weren't looking any further afield than Omagh, so convinced my brother-in-law that he should also leave the insurance company that we worked for, and that we would jointly set up in business, which we did. And business was successful. I looked after the general insurance side of things. My brother-in-law looked after the financial services. At that time we provided mortgages and life insurance as well. So we set up what at that stage was called Wallace and Dickson Insurances on the 2nd of September 1992. My brother-in-law stayed with us until 1998. Decided that I think the general side of the business was growing, and he didn't want the complications as he saw it with the growing business. So he left. Ruth and I remortgaged the house and bought his shares in the business.
That wouldn't have been easy at the time.
It wouldn't have been easy at the time now, and I suppose the money that we're talking about nowadays seems relatively insignificant, but
just to rewind, you would have had a couple of small kids at that stage.
At that stage, we had 3.
Yeah, 3 probably under the age of 6 or 7, I'd say.
Stephen was born actually he was born in March 1992. We started the business in September 1992. Ian came along in 1993. Jason came along in 1996. So in 1998, I'd say hands were full. Ruth's hands were full. She was very good. She looked after a lot of the days. She basically brought the boys up, and
you sort of need that though. Like, you know, I don't want to move too much forward, but you sort of you know, reaping the benefits of it now. You know, because. So someone had to do I won't say the difficult work, because I know, you know, Michelle's at home in our house too, so you have no headaches as such from that point of view. But you're trying to work towards a plan, I suppose. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, very very much so. And say Ruth joined the business in '98. So it was a real leap of faith because at that time she worked for the local education authority. So we gave up her wage to come in. So we really were throwing all our eggs into that particular basket at that stage. And I suppose it had to work. But so Ruth was looking after all the finances within the business, which at that stage had been rebranded to Dickson Company, and looking after the boys at home as well. So I don't know how she done it, to be honest. I would have seen the boys every day. They wouldn't necessarily have seen me every day, because I would have been coming home sometimes at 2:30 in the morning.
Just an incredible hard grind.
Long hard grind. But so I always made sure that I seen them. Saying they were good at, obviously we're sleeping whenever I come in, so they may not have necessarily seen me, but hey, that's life. That's just the way it goes.
So right, at that time, where was your vision? Did you think, right, I'm not going to be doing this, working this hard forever, or did you have something in your mind that would make things easier, or did you say, you know what, this is just how it's going to be all the time? Am I always going to be working this hard? Or could you see a point at where you could restructure things to make it a bit easier?
I suppose, Killian, look, I come from a family with a strong work ethic, and in those days it was let's get the business established, let's see where we can take the business, and then reevaluate things. Ruth and I took over the business fully in 1998. And we had acquired a number of businesses. I think at that stage we'd acquired 2 businesses, and the business was becoming more successful. I always had a view that I hadn't given up rallying, and I would always go back to rallying. But let's get the business established first, I suppose we built the business, we acquired more businesses, but then I had a bit of a setback with ill health, and I had chronic kidney disease, and that led then.
When was this, in the 2000s?
That was in the 2000s, right. And I actually ended up having a kidney transplant in 2004.
Right. I didn't know that.
All right. Lucky enough. Successful, and we're 20 years down the line and still successful, thankfully. But even through all of that, we still continue to build the business. After I had the kidney transplant, the nurses were scolding.
I'm sure, because there's a lot of stress on you. Like you're growing the business, you're in hospital. Young kids at home, it's like sometimes the wind was going against you. I'm sure there for a stage.
It probably would have felt a bit like that. I got the Ruth to bring me a mobile phone in after day 3, and I actually got out of hospital after day 4, and I was back at work, although I was working from here, from the kitchen table, after day 7. And back in the office then a couple of weeks after that. I suppose there've been a couple of things. There've always been challenges, but there's challenges in life every day, and there's challenges in business every day. So you take them and you get over them, and you get on with what needs to be done. I suppose the goal really was to see where we can take the business to, and there's always been I said one day in one of our management meetings that success isn't it's a journey, it's not a destination, and it is, because every time you get somewhere you think to yourself, well, we can maybe go a little bit further, and when you get there, we can maybe go a little bit further. There's no way in it. It just keeps on going on, the boys have all come into the business. There was no stress, there was no pressure from either Ruth or I for them to come into the business, but they all wanted to come in and join the business.
It's mad this way to see you working all these hours as they were growing up, and they still wanted to get. And this was only an insurance, by the way, we're on at the moment. they wanted to get involved, like, and obviously they had to do all their college work and stuff to get involved in the business. But
exactly.
like it's really a match made in heaven. Like in as you've expanded, this massive business now. You're how many? What's the statistics? I should know this now as a sponsor of Facebook Live, but
well, look, we've 19 trading locations across Ireland, 2 in the Republic of Ireland, the rest in Northern Ireland. We have 150 staff. We have 50,000 live customers, and we place, in terms of premium placements, we place about £1 million a week. And we actually have another business that we are acquiring. I was with the solicitor on Tuesday and I signed heads of terms to buy another business.
You're driving on hard.
We're still going on ahead.
But it must be a lot more reassuring to you though that the boys are involved in the business. And I think some of their partners or wives are involved as well. Like it's like that's a difficult dynamic at times. Then you throw in a big business in that. It's very hard for everyone to be pulling the same direction all the time. So I mean, it's great for you that this probably if they didn't come on, would you have had the same drive? If they didn't have, rewind 10 years ago, right? Take 10 years off all the boys. If they hadn't the drive, do you think you would have drove on as hard?
I think 10 years ago we probably would have had to look at another final solution, if you like. So if the boys weren't interested, we would have to consider, ultimately, what would happen to the business. And we before we were, I suppose, we had the knowledge that the boys were fully committed to the business. We had thoughts about what will happen. But to say, thankfully, they will come into the business, and you're right, Stephen's wife, Rachel. They met through Rachel working in the business,
right.
And Amy, Jason's girlfriend, she again works in the business as well. Jason and Amy had met. Prior to Amy coming to work for us, they met actually at a 5-minute town rally one year.
Yeah.
So
she's interested in rallying as well.
She is indeed. Her family would have been interested. Her father works for what used to be Fisher Engineering, and would have known the Fisher family very well, and through that would have followed motorsport. Amy would have had an involvement with motorsport before meeting up with. But
it's all just aligned. It's also like in as I said, massive business. You're not bringing in outsiders, but you bring in family members, and you bring in another rung of it. Like obviously your way of parenting and your way of management at home must be very good as well. To get everyone on the one page that you all have the same vision. You have all the same vision clearly, because otherwise, if you had someone with a different vision, put them in the mix of all that, things could get messy quick enough.
Like Killian, we do have the odd round.
Would he? Yeah. And who has the final word?
Probably Ruth. Look, Ruth and I both come from farming families, and because of that, it's quite commonplace to go into a farmhouse and you've got 3 generations sitting around the table having their tea or their dinner together. So it's possibly, it might seem to people looking from the outside in that this is a strange dynamic, but it's what we grew up with. So it's not all that unusual for us.
Yeah, well, now when you make the relationship between the normal farm and your business, I suppose you're right. We can that those dynamics are fairly commonplace in farming families all over the country. But it is it's great that everyone's involved, and we. There's a small table in my office, and we all take our tea together. We all take our lunch together. Jason and Jordan still live at home. Amy lives here with us as well. Yeah. Stephen lives in one of the farms, so he lives in a bungalow up there.
He's plans to build a new house just in a field just behind the bungalow. But before him and Rachel got married, we renovated a bungalow, and they live there. Ian lives about a mile away from Stephen in a house that we managed to buy. It came on the market. It was suited location-wise, and one thing and another.
So everyone's close.
Everybody's at home. Yeah,
now
everybody's at home.
Right. We keep making the comparisons with the farming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got the farming. Obviously, you come from a farming background. Ruth comes from a
yeah.
farming background. Okay. So we're talking about the insurance business, right? I genuinely, even when I met up with you last year and had the right chat in your boardroom last year, I don't know how you have enough time in the day to do everything. But I was saying there, I won't say what car you have outside, but a real nice car outside. And then one would always say, if they see you driving it, oh, look at that man has it sorted, you know. But then when when I came to the door, we'll say when I met you first thing this morning before we did the interview, was like you were covered from head to toe in you're in work, farming clothing. And obviously you had half a day's work done this morning. So you obviously always had that love for farming. Mm-hmm. So now the farming, along with the insurance, was also a business that you've grown from. Were you ever a gentleman farmer that progressed with the boys, or was farming more a pastime when you were starting the insurance business, or was it a business that you see, right, I can grow this too, or I can get more out of this?
I think, Elaine, as we said earlier, I come from a farming family. The farm wasn't big enough, but I always had a wish that we'd still keep a connection with farming. I think farming is a fantastic way. It's of keeping families together, so I always had a vision that we'd continue with farming. And we farmed for many years in a very sort of small way going. The boys all have a huge interest in farming, and they're all very different. For example, Stephen's machinery. Stephen, just if it can be done from the seat of a tractor, then that's Stephen all day long. Ian, his passion is sheep and sheepdogs. And he would breed sheepdogs and sheepdogs. Right. And he has never. He doesn't really bother with trialing sheepdogs, but he's a great interest in dogs. So he'll work at sheep. Jason would be like me. We would be. We'd be stockmen. Our focus would always be on the animal, on the stock, and improving stock. And Jordan, in fairness, just chips in, whether it's going around to the dairy unit at night after work, whether it's on a Sunday morning, Jordan and I would be at the pedigree. We've no staff in on a Sunday, and so we all chip in. Jordan and I would
but it's still a major business, obviously, your farm. But I think that's your getaway. Is it get away from the office? Is it you probably don't see it as work, really, the farming at all. It's social.
Sometimes it is. Yeah. Well, look, we farm. We've just under 300 acres altogether, and we at home we're primarily a pedigree pig breeding enterprise that I came from. So we still we've 130 sows, birth to bacon enterprise. We had a suckler beef enterprise with about 200 head. Earlier on this year, we sold off the suckler cows, and we started into dairying. So with a pedigree Jersey herd, we're up to about 70 cows at the moment.
Milking them.
Milking on a robot, and we have about 300 breeding ewes as well. But our focus with the sheep enterprise is pedigree breeding. So we breed Suffolks and breed Texels, primarily Texels, and a lot of the work that we do, a lot of even the commercial sheep that would be recipients for embryo transfer. So what we do is we actually we have this year we're using a ram that was bought in Lanark at 30,000, and we're mating that ram by artificial insemination to about 14 or 15 what we call donor ewes. So
Yeah,
these are ewes that are probably worth textile ewes somewhere between maybe 5,000 and 10,000 a piece.
Right. And what would a normal, a stupid question, what would a normal sheep like
well,
be
if you
worth?
do, well,
If I was went to the market today, buy a normal sheep.
160, 180.
Right.
So these are
50 times more expensive, let's say.
And what we do with those is that we mate the pedigree ram pedigree ewe by artificial insemination. We then go in and flush the eggs out, and the live embryos are then transplanted into an ordinary commercial sheep. So you're
getting better quality.
What you're getting more. Because
if
if you made it the pedigree ram to the pedigree ewe, you can have one or two
so
lambs.
It's like IVF for all that.
Absolutely, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But what you're getting is, we had a ewe flushed earlier this year, pedigree ewe with 20. So instead of her rearing one or two lambs, by using embryo transplant, we're getting maybe 18 or 20 lambs out of that
and
same
top quality.
Absolutely, yeah.
So is this new? Like, is this how new is this?
It's been about a good number of years. We have been using it now for about probably 8 or 9 years.
But it was probably used. Would it have been used to the same extent with you're using top quality with say prize winning ewes and that? Would everyone have done that, or would it be just the?
No, it would just be at the
normally.
Exactly. So no, it's much more costly to do. So to make it viable, you've got to have a lamb that has the potential of making some money.
Because am I right in? Did you miss the Lakeland last year? Was it last year? Wasn't there a big sale on? Was there a big sheep sale on? Where was that? I remember
it was Lanark in Scotland.
Right.
So we missed it, and in actual fact, we were buying that ram,
right.
Buying a share in that ram.
Okay.
That particular weekend. So I think we were only back on very late on the Friday or something.
Yes, and
the rally was on the Saturday.
So how do you keep like? There's a lot of balls in the air there. Like, when you come home in the evening, you have the insurance businesses done. You have the farming done. Like, what? Like, do you ever sit in the chair and think, "Gee, is there something now I'm missing to do?" Like, there's a lot of balls in the air there. Like, or does everyone, without it even being wrote, it's obviously not wrote down. It's all agreed between you, maybe at the dinner table here. Like, everyone just takes their spot, and you rely on everyone just doing their bit, and then it just runs.
A bit of that, to be honest. What generally happens is the mornings. I said to you earlier that a typical day is that there is no typical day, and there's not to a certain extent. But what generally happens is that Jason and I will do the morning shift on the farm. So we generally get up in the mornings around 6:15, and we go to the dairy unit. We go to the.
So have you people in that do the milking twice or 3 times a day? Or?
No, we do with a robot.
So
the robot does
it. We got an idea. The robot's obviously from Jason, in the previous episode.
So Jason uses De La Val robots. We use Lele, but they're a similar type of machine. But we go up and we double check, and there's a certain amount of work to do, so we do that. We do this week in particular is a busy week because we run a pedigree female textile sale, which is taking place on this Friday evening.
Right, okay.
So when you get up to the where the sheep are, you'll see there's a lot of they've got their fake tan on. They're ready for the night out on Friday. So we have a lot of work on with that. Ordinarily, then Jason and I are back. It's a quick shower into the office. Where we generally get into the office around about 9:30. We'll always catch up within the business. We all have our own sort of area that we look about. Later on in the evening, then Stephen and Jordan will look after the dairy unit and look after the feeding of the sheep and stuff in the evening, and Ian will help. But like last night, for example, Jason and I came in. It was around about 10:30 or so, and we finished sort of rebedding all the pens with these pedigree sheep. Ian was up with us. Stephen and Jordan had done the feeding, And we're all back in the house. We're sitting around here having a cup of tea and watching your interview with Jason Mitchell actually last night. But that's a sort of a stereotype. Generally, say office-wise, Jason and I would generally be the last to leave the office, and that could be anything between, I don't know, 7:30, 8:30, 9:15 by the time we'd leave the office, and it depends on what sort of has to be done elsewhere, or what else is going on in our lives. They do be fairly long days.
So I'd say there's no day you wake up and think, what will I do today?
Very few.
No, I would say that. Say then, when you go on holidays, or the boys go on holidays, I'd say you'd never go for 2 days because it'd be a waste of time. I'd say it'd take you about 3 or 4 days just to acclimatise to the fact that you don't have to get up at 6:15 to see about the cattle, the bedding, the sheep, the insurance. Like I'd say, does it take you a long time to, when yourself and Ruth are away, you know, and you enjoy travelling, does it take you time to sort of relax?
I don't think we ever relax, truthfully, because if I'm not getting updates from the office on the phone, then I'm phoning back to the office to ask why they're not phoning me. So
your holiday is a different sort of holiday. You don't completely switch off. You enjoy the hustle of everyday business, and you just happen to enjoy it in maybe a different country with nicer weather. Yeah,
we have a holiday home. We're looking after a holiday home just outside Malaga. We're 10 minutes from Malaga Airport. 10 kilometres, you say, from Malaga Airport, and we do try to get out there. Ruth and I were out October. We were out. We're back out again now on the 6th of December. We're out for 10 days, and it's nice. Don't get me wrong, it is nice to get away. It's also very nice, you know, it's nice to travel. It's also nice to go to somewhere that you're very familiar with, and you know, so it's much easier. You know exactly where you're going,
and you know your internet. Exactly. Home from home.
Home from home.
And so you can seamlessly. When you're getting on that flight, you know when you land at your house in Spain that you will seamlessly have everything that you require to continue on. So there's no the chain. There's no chinks in the chain. Would say
there's no uncertainty. And don't get me wrong. We do switch off. We do a lot of walking when we're over there. But yes, look, we do. Ruth will generally do a number of payments, especially coming up by month end. She'll authorise a lot of payments. She looks after the financial side of her business, and you know, and I'll catch up with the boys, and I'll catch up with the various different managers that we have. We're very lucky in Dickson Group, as it's now known as, that we have a good management structure, and we have a very good director. We have a broking director, we have a claims director, we have 3 regional directors, and they are you know, they're instrumental in helping us to run the business on a day-to-day basis.
Very good. Well, I think we've covered nearly everything on business there, and obviously we'll be showing the shots of the farm there on the clips. So moving on now to the fun side of things, right? The rallying. So what is your background in rallying? When did you start? You know who were the heroes? Obviously you took a break from rallying, as you said, and you came back rallying a number of years ago. So where did it all start, the motorsport journey for you?
Motorsport started with my uncle, my uncle Ashley, who sadly passed away in July of this year, just a couple of weeks before Stephen's wedding. But he was a competitor, a successful competitor back in the 60s and early 70s. So I grew up in a household where you know, rallying was talked about on a regular basis. There were a lot of visitors to the house. You know, people like Ronnie McCartney.
That's what you're saying. He had a travel shop.
He had the first time that Ruth and I met the late Ronnie McCartney together, it was actually he came to my mum sadly passed away 6 weeks before we got married, and Ronnie and Anna McCartney actually arrived at the wake. And I knew Ronnie from rallying. Ruth knew Ronnie as being the guy that came to her house once a week many years ago with a travelling shop. So it goes to show how you know, people know people from different areas.
And am I right saying Hugh O'Brien is a vet?
Hugh Brown's a vet,
okay.
and so Hugh Brown would have been, would have been in our house several times a week. People like Robin Lyons, who ran the Peugeot Talbot dealership in Castledare, very successful rally driver. So all of these people were in and out of the house, on a regular basis. So I grew up with that background, and always wanted to become involved in rallying. Did get involved in rallying in the probably the early 80s. Initially with a Mark I Escort, and then with a 1600 Mark II Escort. 88, I think I bought. There's a guy that was very successful, Ken Graham, and he had a 1600 Sunbeam. I bought the 1600 Sunbeam.
Am I right in saying you bought that back?
I bought it back again. I have indeed.
So it's under restoration.
It is.
I'm ruining your train of thought there.
No,
so that's great news. It's back in the house.
It's back in the house, and Camillus Bradley is restoring the car
great
for
man
us.
to do the job. Yeah,
absolutely. And Camillus and I would have rallied against each other in Sunbeams back in the day. I remember. I think it was one year. I won the 1600 class in 5 Mile Town. I think I was maybe 7th overall. Was Raymond Mason maybe 8th overall? Camillus Bradley was 9th. There were 4 1600 cars.
Names that are still around rallying.
Still around rallying, yeah. In those days, locally, Robbie McGurk was the man.
Robbie was the king of the bushwhacker for a lot of years.
And prior to that, even he was a fantastic driver in a 1600 Avenger. So those people, we grew up with all of those people, fantastic people, and thankfully, quite a number of them. Like we mentioned, Raymond Mason, Robbie McGurk, Camillus Bradley, they're all still involved in rallying to some extent, or around rallying. So I bought that Sunbeam. And didn't have the money, Killian, back in those days to do a full championship, but we went to do some of the Southern Forestry rounds, and generally reasonably successful. Number of class wins, second the class. We were generally in around the top 10, and actually led. There was Carlo had a forestry rally that ran on New Year's Day. It was actually called the Monte Carlo Forestry Stages.
Right. In the late 80s, early 90s.
That was I think that was, no, it must have been, I think Ruth and I were just married at the time, so it was very, very early 90s.
Yeah.
Ironically,
they're running the forestry this year.
And they're running forestry this year.
It's been run this year.
That's exactly right. But it was, there was a lot of snow, and we actually led the rally up until I think it was maybe the second last stage, and we ended up, I think maybe, we still won the class. We're 6th or 7th overall. Andy Mackerel, Derek's father.
In the Skona.
No, he was in a Nova, I think, and he was. I think if I was 6th, he was 7th or something like that. But again, the
name's still around the sport.
Absolutely, and because it was very slippy, a lot of snow in the stages. Suited my car, suited my running order. Again, similar suited Andy because none of us had the most powerful cars, but the day just suited everybody. So there were good events, and then say it took a period of time out to build a business. Went back to rallying in the early 2000s.
And what did you come back in?
I come back in a 106 Cup car.
Oh, great car.
And fantastic.
Great car,
bought of Gary Jennings.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually knew Gary because Gary's, when I first worked for the insurance company, Gary's father, Jim, was actually one of my bosses. So I knew Gary. And I bought this 106 Cup car off him, and went and had a good result in the circuit. I think we were maybe 10th or 11th.
In 02, 03, I would have been with Derek Job back then, I would say.
It would have been 04.
04 actually, it was round in Enniskillen, wasn't it?
It was a great event. It was a
remember the stages were down. It ran into the south as well, if I'm not mistaken, did it?
It did.
It did.
It did indeed.
It was a good event.
It was a fantastic event.
I think Gordon Noble ran that event, was he? He was probably with us, one of them. But it was an excellent event. It was excellent. It was based in St Angelo, wasn't it? Was it?
No, not that year. It was based, I can't remember. I know it ran out of the Killyhaviland Hotel, But the Park Fermi was somewhere in Enniskillen, and I think we were maybe 10th or 11th overall, and in the national event. And then 2 weeks later, I had a kidney transplant, so that sort of knocked it back again. So they wasn't quite sure that I'd ever go back to rallying, and then when I turned 50, I think it was actually maybe the Christmas before I turned 50. On Christmas morning, Ruth handed me a present, and I opened it, and it was a race suit, rally suit, and she said, "Right, if you're ever going to do it, now's the time. Now's the time to do it." So I hired a car for 4 events that year. 4 was from a guy called Willie Hamilton, and there was an Evo 9. And I ended up then buying the Evo 9 off Willie and going to Jerry McGarrity to run the car. And we ran that car, so that, what would that have been? That would have been 2012. Probably that I went back towards the end of that year, then bought that car and ran with Jerry. And in fairness, with 2014, we good results with the car. I won Group N, the national section Group N, with Aaron Johnson on the circuit. We had some, I think it was maybe 2nd in the class in the Northern Ireland Championship that year, and we're leading the class in the Cork 20 by 2.5 minutes. On the Saturday evening, and had the mother and father of all accidents on the first stage on the Sunday.
Okay. Did you have another big off in Cork in an escort as well, did you? Or was that?
I know that was in an Evo. 2019.
It was.
I don't know if
Patrick Brides was sitting with you.
Paddy Brides was sitting with me. That's exactly right. And it wasn't actually that big of an accident.
So Cork wasn't good.
Cork wasn't good. I ended up I broke a vertebrae in that accident. Say it wasn't that big of an accident, but just the way the car landed.
Yes.
But yeah, the escort was a good car. So got back into rallying, rallied the Evo for a good number of years, and then decided that I wanted to. I always thought I'd love to do Knockall, I'd love to do Donegal in an escort. Bought the escort, had loads of fun on it.
Well, a historic car, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was a 2-litre
Class 13 car.
KGP in it, running 13-inch wheels. But it was a good car, and I definitely enjoyed it. And then thought, well, after the accident, Jason said, "You're going to buy an R5." So we bought an R5, and in fact now all of the boys are now out rallying in R5s, and I suppose over the years we've spent a lot of time developing the business, developing even the farming side of things, and rallying has taken a bit of a back seat. But we're at a stage now where we really want to try and push it. The boys come up through motorsport. They started in kart racing, and through the kart racing around at that time, Callum Devine was racing, Philip Allen was racing. It was just there was a huge amount of people that Kyle White would have been about it in those days. In fact, at one of I remember going to an event down in Kiltork and Kilkenny, and it turned out that it was either Rob Barrable or Rob Barrable's brother.
Rob or what's his brother's name? Peter.
I think it might have been Peter.
Because they're still winning races.
They won
Modelo, yeah.
Well, he was actually mechanicking that day. We were ran by a team called Cartequip, and when we went down, we were introduced to this mechanic. It was the first time that we'd met him. He ran Stephen's kart that weekend, but it was one of the. I don't think it was Rob. I think it was Peter that mechanic that day. But see, the boys come up through kart racing, moved into rallying, and had a bit of success. Stephen won the junior championship twice in the forests. Jason's had a good bit of success in various different cars. Ian's had some good runs, but it's probably time to give it a proper and a serious.
Yeah,
rattle.
because I have to look at it. I don't want to pick out one there, but I have to say that Jason doesn't go out very often, but he can turn it on very fast.
He can.
You know, he has good speed. I know he's on about doing the national championship in 2025, the Triton Showers Championship.
Yeah,
he should give that, like, seat time, I suppose. It's like, I suppose, between any of them, it's very hard to be at the complete sharp end consistently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing setting a stage time.
Yeah.
I won't say anybody can set a stage time, but it's not one stage time that's going to win a rally. It's the stringing it all together. So you're probably hoping this year with them doing more consistent events. I think isn't Stephen, Ian, and possibly yourself doing the Forestry Championship?
Yeah, that's
and then Jason is planning on doing the Triton Championship.
Yeah, this year Jason has been out in Derby against hire car. It was a good car, but you're right, Killian. The problem is seat time, and so we've actually bought Caham Court's Rally 2 Fiesta. You know, great car, 3 rallies old, and finished second in both the Bushwhacker and the Lakeland. So you know, good car, and so we bought that, and Jason's going to pilot that in the Triton Showers Championship this year. Stephen will use that car as well in the Forestry Championship, and then Ian and I will use the trusty R5s.
There's still plenty of life left.
Still plenty of life left. You can drive them as
so you're planning on doing a good year rallying yourself?
Yeah. We'll give it a rattle. There's no fool looking out full.
So it's a great sport, though, isn't it? Like, you know, like if you had played football or rugby, you know, like we're chatting to Jason Mitchell, like you're finished rugby, well, I think he was tipping 40s or mid 30s, but you're sort of at the end of it. Whereas rallying, you know, look at Mickey Joe Morrissey. Collected the Motorsport Ireland awards, like, you know, he's the Masters world champion. Like it's 70, I think Mickey Joe's 76 or 77.
I didn't realise it was
that age. He is, like what other sport could you still enjoy it? I don't think there's many.
No, there can't be that many.
Especially with adrenaline-based sports, we call it.
No, look, it's a fantastic sport. It's been a fantastic sport for us over the years. You know, one of the things that it's done is we've made a lot of friends through motorsport. We've made a lot of business acquaintances through motorsport. But first and foremost, it has kept us together as a family, because we play together. And even when the boys were young, you know, I'd come home from work on a Friday evening, we'd all climb into the lorry and we would go to, it could be Kirkston, it could be Bishop's Court, it could have been Nuts Corner, it could have been, you know, Kiltorkin or whatever, and we'd spend the weekend together. And so it really has kept us gelled as a family. And still does. And you'll very, very seldom will you find us all together. You know, that motorsport doesn't come up in the conversation somewhere along the line. I remember we all went to New York. I suppose like 3 years ago now, and we go in a family holiday every year, all 9 of us, as it is as there are now, and we were sitting having breakfast in Manhattan, and I can't remember how it came about, but rallying came up, and we were sitting the first morning in Manhattan, all having breakfast, and we still took time to talk about motorsport and talk about rallying.
It's just part of who you are. It's part of your identity.
It's part and parcel. It is very much the part of the DNA.
Well, thanks very much for that. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go into the office. We're going to go into the OMA office, and we're going to have a quick chat with the boys, because I just want to suss them out as well and get it from their side. And again, thanks very much, Ashley, for taking the time to meet us today and to show us around the farm and obviously the insurance business. And listen, enjoy the future.
Pleasure, Killian. Okay, thank you.
Lads, I had a great chat with your dad, obviously at your home house, and we've had a tour of the farm. It's a serious operation. I suppose, Stephen, we're going to start with you. You're the oldest. A serious operation you have, and great family teamwork.
Yeah, it seems to be we all get on reasonably well most of the time. We all spend most of our weeks every day together, whether it's work here or whether it's the farm, and it's a real family effort and real family business. So what it is.
Ian, I suppose, you know, the way, was it naturally, like how you know, some of you do the morning, some of you do the evenings. Like, how did that come about, or was it just
some are early risers and some aren't really?
Right.
It just, I think it all depends just on the, we all have different interests in the farm, and I suppose the cows, Stephen and Jason would maybe have more interest in that, and it's night and morning, so they sort of take it turnabout. I would do the sheep in the evening, and Jordan, he would just come on as and when it suits. So
Jordan, I suppose you're a little bit different, that we haven't seen you competing on the stages yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Have you a Crawford, or what would you say? Would you be interested in taking part, or?
Yeah, plenty of interest. I had more interest in the insurance side of things, especially working directly with Dad. But no, I have plenty of interest in the cattle and the pigs. Could be interested.
You enjoy that?
No real interest in the sheep now.
Yeah, that's it. No one. I think you're on your own with the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're sort of your baby.
Yeah. Jason would do bits and pieces with them there.
Pedigree sheep, I would like,
Jason, so.
Not the normal
commercial,
one. So I think Clarkson's farm had the same thing. He didn't like the sheep either when they break out. Jason, obviously we've seen you making some sporadic appearances this year. We call it some very strong pace shown in the Rally 2 Fiesta, obviously, and you're going to have your own car next year doing the Triton Championship, as your dad was telling us.
Yeah, that's the plan. So we were fit to do a deal with Mr. McCord around the road from us, and for his Rally 2 car. So look, it's going to be a very good car, 2024 car, tried and tested this year, and he's had some fantastic results in it. So if we can have something similar next year, then we'll be more than happy.
Stephen, is it hard to? I said the same to your dad. Like, is it hard to balance your time? Like, I think between all of you in the household, there's nearly no time for you to do nothing. Like, do you ever sit down? Does any of you ever sit down on the couch and just say, well, you know what, Gran, I'm going to have an hour to myself? Is there? You're always thinking, right, what do I have to do next? Rather than, right, when I have that done, I'm finished. Are you thinking, right, you're only ticking the boxes off and the circle starts again the next morning?
Pretty much are, yeah. Look, you always have your whatever. There's specific jobs have to be done on specific days, and we all just take a turnabout and get it done. The week goes in a blank, and you're back to Monday in no time. So
I think
it's just hard to get. You don't have much downtime, but
It's going to be enjoyed.
Yeah, we were saying that out at the farm. Like, this is around the farm is your getaway.
Yeah.
As such, so it's not like, okay, you have to do it. But like, you showed me the milking parlour. Like, it's almost, I won't say self-sufficient, but it's as close to as possible.
Yeah.
That it, like, we were there, the cows were getting milked in, there was no one there.
Yeah, about 2 hours a day maximum. We'd be in that shed, an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and that would really be it. But as I said earlier, that's the time that we probably work closest with each other, because in the office here, we all have our separate departments, and from one day to the next, we mightn't see each other, a couple of times a day. Like, so, at least out in the farm, there's less pressure on us, and we can work with each other then.
So listen, lads, it's a totally unique setup you have, and as I said to your dad earlier, you have to admire what you've built and what your parents have created, and of course the next generation rolling in, and the way you're all just syncing so well together. It's amazing. I think for anyone watching this video at home, they'll be amazed with how well this whole setup runs, and wishing you continued success. And I'm looking forward to interviewing you, well, 3 if not 4 of you on the stages next year.
Brilliant.
forward to it.
That's great, thank you.